And welcome to an ETTO's catch-up. This one is very much a catch-up because it's of a series that didn't come out this year. It came out last year, and we're talking about it now because there's a Season 2 coming on Friday. I'm Will.
I'm so excited, and I am Josh, and so excited, apparently.
You're both of those things.
Man. Mandalorian Season 1. Just rewatched it over the last 3 days.
Yep.
Literally finished the last episode 15 minutes ago, I think. So, yeah, super keen to jump in. It's all feeling fresh. Felt like nearly just as exciting the second time. Like, I knew what was coming, but, man, it's just so good.
It's so solid.
So good, but we'll jump into it.
I've watched it twice as well. The second time I watched it through with the parents because I think we just needed to watch something, and that was on Disney Plus, and I'm like, let's experiment. Let's see. It's a thing that we've both done with our parents, like Stranger Things and stuff. It's always just like, I'm sure they'll enjoy this, and then you play it for them, and they're like, this is amazing. This is great. Yeah. And it's as exciting for them, even as like B-tier, or not even, C-tier fans. They still love it, which is a testament to how much fun it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I watched all of it when it came out, as it was coming out week to week, before coming to Sydney. And then, went back to Sydney, watched it with the family there. Again, they'd only watched like half of the first episode by the time I got to Sydney. So I'm like, all right, let's start from scratch. Let's watch this. Because I know you guys, you just sit at your computers the whole time and watch TV.
Yeah, right. Gross.
So... yeah, I'm like, we're watching this. They freaking loved it because it's just more Star Wars. You know me and my family and Star Wars. And yeah, so this was my third time watching it, I guess. And yeah, it's so good.
It's so good. I've broken it down by episodes with some cool facts and some cool notes.
Definitely makes sense.
Yeah, but before we go into that, I've kind of got like 4 things that I just want to talk about overall with the show, which is number one of the I guess it's almost decade defining as we're into a new one now, but it was used last, is the volume, which is what they use to film everything rather than a green screen. It's basically just an LED wraparound of, it's basically rear projection, what they did in, the 60s and stuff when James Bond needed to do a car chase and stuff and just project it. It's that, but a screen that can be, that's actually using Unreal Engine and can be modified as you go and bring in new assets. If you're setting up a shot, you're like, well, I don't want that rock there. You can just pick it up with VR, which is super cool.
So cool, man.
It's so cool.
Games.
Yeah. It always was funny watching through the credits, which we rarely do on a streaming service, but and seeing the Unreal Engine logo come up in the credits.
Yeah,
it's like,
nice.
That's weird. It's just a phenomenal piece of technology. Exciting is that it's got one in London. There's obviously one in San Fran where this was shot, and then there's one here in Sydney, like 45 minutes away from me, which is
God bless ILM.
I love those guys.
So good.
It's just a phenomenal piece of technology, and it's the kind of thing that, same with like Baby Yoda and same with the Razor Crest, you don't notice. There is no part of your brain at any point that goes, or if anything, you're going there on a green screen, probably. There's no part of your brain that connects it. And even, additional to that, the scenes that they're using it are always surprising. Like, the scenes in the first episode, the Mandalorian, where he's perched on top of a rock and there's sky behind him. You're like, they probably just went into a desert. No! Why would they go to a desert? They're just filming in this box. Well, circle. Like, it's just so cool. It's there's a series on Disney Plus alongside this, which is breaking down the Mandalorian. Well worth a watch. A lot of the facts that I'll throw at you come from it.
And it's cool how they've broken it down into, like, directors, music... like sets and props, like technology, and stuff. Every episode is about a specific different thing, which is really, really cool way to do it. So I might check that out in time. It does seem really, really cool.
It's it just unearths some crazy, and I'll give you some of them, but it just unearths some cool things. And one of the cool things, it's not in my list of things, we'll get into it more per episode, but the fact that for this show, it wasn't the way that like The Flash or a lot of these kind of, any TV show, it's just a bunch of directors and they kind of are there to do their job and leave to direct the script the way it's supposed to be. Whereas this series, they had, I want to say 5 or 6 directors basically, and each of them, with an astonishing career of work behind them, but also very different careers of work behind them. And they just let them do what they do with Star Wars. And it's such a cool thing because, there's certainly a through line, but some episodes you're like, well, that's just a completely different show. But at the same time, fits here. It kind of works, which is really cool.
Yeah, like last episode being Tyker's.
Yeah.
There's just so much awkward humor and stuff like that through the whole thing, especially just the two...
the two scout troopers at the top.
The two troopers, at the top. So good.
Which were played by Jason Sudeikis, that comedian guy, and Adam Pally.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's right. He has come up so much for me, Jason.
Yeah, right.
So there's a podcast I listen to, Reply All.
Yep.
And they just go through like a bunch of tech interesting things that happen and stuff, and it's hilarious. They also did a different podcast, like a limited 5-episode podcast where one of the hosts was getting the other host to watch scary movies because he didn't like horror.
Yep.
So they were like, this is where you got to start, and every episode it was a different movie, and just trying to see where he's at.
Yep.
And they kept getting Jason in because he's just a huge fan. He's freaking hilarious.
That's great.
So good, yeah. I really respect him based on that Reply All and all of that stuff.
So what's the podcast Reply All?
Yeah, is the main podcast, and then the other one is the Scaredy Cats podcast or something.
Okay.
Which is just five episodes, each maybe about an hour.
Yeah, cool.
About horror movies and stuff.
Cool. There's lots of cameos in this show, and I've got some of them listed throughout this. It's very fun.
I could not tell you any of them.
That's exciting.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Other than Tyker.
Just quickly, and we'll talk about him as we go, the Baby Yoda puppet is another piece of technology that is just mind-blowing. It's the funny thing with Star Wars is a lot of the technology of old comes back, and then they just do it better than they used to do it, and this is a puppet, but just better than any puppet has ever looked before. It's another thing like the volume, the LED wraparound thing, where it's like, you can't tell whether it's a scene with the puppet or a scene with the CG, because the puppet, you're like, that has to be CG, but most of the time it's a puppet. So then whenever it's CG, you're like, well, that's obviously the puppet. It's just so good.
And when you say puppet, is it like animatronic?
Yeah. There's no Jim Henson inside of it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so it's all...
Disney just seem to be absolutely smashing that. They seem to always have been.
Yeah.
Like, based on the Imagineers, or Imagineering, or whatever that series is on Disney Plus as well, seeing the technology they had in, like, the 60s.
It's the friggin' Abraham Lincoln. It's like, how did you do that 40 years ago?
Insane. And then, coming through to now, and then there's, like, the little foxes.
Yep.
Weren't some of those animatronic as well in Last Jedi?
The glass ones, and like also the porgs as well. Obviously, a little bit of animatronic. Yeah.
So cool.
It's so clever. And then in the Rise of Skywalker, Maz Kanata, entirely animatronic, which is what they actually... Yeah, they wanted her to be animatronic in the first movie, but they didn't get enough time to put into it. So for the last movie, she's all animatronic. She was CG in the other two movies, and then...
Far out.
Which is crazy. Again, you'd never know.
Cool.
Because she looks so good.
I'll have to rewatch that sometime.
Yeah, the only thing that it gives away is the blinks, because blinks are still tricky to do. But luckily, Baby Yoda's got such massive freaking eyes that it's like, well, the awkward blinks are adorable. It's fine. This is just cute. Werner Herzog, who is obviously, I think they call him the client in the two episodes. But he fell in love with it. Like, just... This man is an enigma. Go down the YouTube rabbit hole.
So great. He's so funny.
He's so good. There's a video that got shared to the Back Pocket Slack, which I don't know if I shared to you, but it's him talking to a guy, and because obviously he's German, he's very rooted in his beliefs, and he starts talking about, like, comedically starts talking about this time that he was trapped in an encampment and all this stuff, and like someone was about to be shot, and he's saying it so in the way he does, so nonchalant, like this is yesterday. And then he's so like, weird. And at the start of the story, he's like, I will not talk French, I will not allow my tongue to say those words. Like, that's how German he is. And then during the story, he says the thing that the German guy said, and just before the video cuts off, he goes, oh, I should not have said those things. And then the video just cuts off, and it's like, did he just kill the guy? Did he kill the cameraman after that?
It's brilliant. He's such a weird dude. He's great.
Scary.
I love our friend Peter's impression of him as well.
He's so
He
good.
does it so well. Last year at New Year's.
Yeah.
Just half the night, just
It's just
Werner Herzog. I am Werner Herzog.
And
So
the best line in the second to last episode, I read it down where it's like, I would like to see the baby. And he's sleeping. And he's like, we will be quiet. It's like, what?
When he gets called by the bad guy, I forget his name. He's like, do they have the baby?
Yeah.
It is sleeping. You might want to check on that.
Yeah. Let's leave it for that episode when we get to it. But the last thing is the music of the show. Ludwig Göransson. It's like that man was born. You can't be born with the name Ludwig and not compose music. Like, what else? You gonna be a butcher, Ashley? Maybe you could be a butcher. The man is phenomenal. He was actually the reason he's. Apart from being a talented motherfucker, he also was friends with Michael B. Jordan and Donald Glover, did lots of music for Donald Glover as Childish Gambino, so then was brought on for Black Panther, obviously starring Michael B. Jordan, and so...
So did he do the Black Panther music?
He did.
Cool.
So he did that, he's done... so much. He did that. He did Venom.
Sure,
he was, I think, originally going to do... Yeah. Which is why that's the best part of the movie. But yeah, the score in the show is phenomenal. Like, the fact that they managed to make a theme that's, like, on par with the Star Wars theme as being iconic. Because it's like, the love theme for Han is lovely and Rey's theme is nice. But this is like, they made a new Star Wars theme.
Yeah. And they do not shy away from it. Because it is... there's... like new versions in every episode.
Yeah, like fitting.
Once there's action, it's always the same one.
Yeah.
But like in the farm episode, I forget what the name of it is.
Sanctuary.
In that episode, like it's very like
airy
and it's like a classical guitar.
Yeah.
So it's like nylon string guitar playing and stuff. Love it. It's beautiful.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's just such a memorable theme that they hammer into you like nothing else.
And it's not like Giacchino and Incredibles 2. You're like, fine, lay it in me. It's fine.
Yeah. Because that is just the same.
That's the same theme every time.
The same level of the same theme at all times.
That's true. There's no tier to the Incredibles theme. It's either there or not.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. But, and on that is the fact that, and this went through to Clone Wars as well, that for Disney Plus, they do a weekly drop of the score. So you have the entire score for each episode. And that, for Will, is just the most exciting thing. Like, when they announced that, I was just frothing on the floor.
And was that launched, like, at the same time as the episode, or was it,
It was same, like, as soon as it went live, the score went live.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
On Spotify?
On Spotify, and then you could buy it digitally and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So good.
It's just the best thing in the world, because it's Will's thing. He leaves the cinema and he's like, oh God, I just want to listen to that one piece of music again. And this, I could go from the TV to my bed, put on my headphones, and I'm listening to it, and it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. And I love this series, and I think we should dive into it. But I'm actually going to do a little thing. Before we do that, if you've gotten to this point in the podcast...
Do we have an ad?
Well, it's not really. It is technically an ad. If you want to join our little community, the little corner on the internet, please jump on over to patreon.com/each to their own. We've got some notes from some of our patrons in this very thing.
In the thing.
In the thing. You got?
Yes.
I left it open. Have you got anything? Have you got something to tantalize them into the Discord?
Did you say that we get there by going to patreon.com/each to their own?
It never hurts to say it again if I didn't, and I can't remember if I did. But do that.
Awesome.
Do that.
Do that. It's only, what, $2?
$2 US, which is probably like $70 Australian.
Yeah. Something like that.
That's fine. You'll get to buy my next camera. But let's roll into the episode-by-episode breakdown of this show, opening with the self-titled Chapter 1, The Mandalorian.
Very good.
One of the greatest things is chapters. I love that these are chapters because it's one story. And Season 2 is Chapter 9. It doesn't go back to Chapter 1. This is a continuation, which is really exciting.
Yeah, nice. Was this ever planned, kind of like Harley Quinn, was this ever planned to just be one big season?
I don't know if it is an interesting question, because I feel like Disney has enough confidence was the word I went for. I went to say community instead. Yeah. Confidence in what they do, that they're like, people are going to love this. Admittedly, at the same time,
it's Star Wars
sequel trilogy. That didn't go down well, did it?
Yeah.
I feel like at the very least was planned for 2 seasons, I think, I'd say.
Okay.
And then probably after the success of this, they were like, yeah, I think we're fine.
Yeah.
Just push on.
Keep it going.
Gina Carlo, the Esposito, the guy that plays Moff Gideon, the Imperial, he said in an interview recently, he's like, they were talking about season 2, and he's like, oh, wait till season 4. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, no, I've read the scripts for those. And they're like, season 2's not out yet, dude.
Jeez, so, that's cool.
Okay. It's planned into the long run, and that's really exciting. And it's all laid bare. What a way to open. A literal cold open, because they open in the cold. Which I didn't realize till I wrote this, until I wrote my note. That was the first note I wrote 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, nice.
Or freaking half an hour ago now. I was like, that's very clever. And it's equally clever because Mark Hamill always talks about the end of Force Awakens being a cliffhanger, because they end on a cliff.
Bloody hell.
So, literal cold open, really cool, full-on like Clint Eastwood vibes of him sauntering into a cantina that's like dingy and gross and stuff. And I mean, half of it was in the trailer, which was disappointing, but that's fine. It's just a really cool intro to his character. The whole bring you in warm or bring you in cold, like that's a cool line.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I watched most of this with someone else, I guess. Yeah. I think it's becoming more public now, so it's my girlfriend. There it is. So we've been watching this, and she what did she say? She was like, "This seems like really Western," and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just basically a space Western.
Totally.
Like, yeah. And then there was just so many like Clint Eastwood kind of references as we were going. Like her and I just being like, oh, it's such a Clint thing.
Totally.
Like,
totally. Well,
it's great.
It's an interesting thing. They obviously the costumes got the full shawl and all the rest of it. But the thing that blew me away when they were talking about the costume is, and like this is almost me level of like, sure, you thought about that well, but they were like, the visor of Mando basically has that cutoff of Clint Eastwood's hat, where you would have that and then a shadow, and it's almost that same kind of imagery of having a wide brim hat, which is really cool. But yeah, like all throughout, it's a Western show, which, you know, Star Wars was a space opera, but at the same time a Western, but at the same time a samurai film. Like it's always been everything, and I like that the show goes, just that one. This is the one much. I'm going to do.
Solid.
I wasn't a big fan of Fishman. I feel like he was a little, like, I don't know, the first non-Mandalorian character to get, and he's this like weird, almost Doctor Who alien.
Yeah, he's kind of, it's almost too much for how serious the intro of this is.
Totally. You almost needed to cut half of his lines, and then he'd be fine.
Because I'm just trying to think, like, the other aliens don't talk like him.
Yeah.
No one talks like that one guy ever.
Yeah.
Except for that one guy.
Yep.
But also a great thing that I only have picked up because I think it was brought up specifically on the Weekly Planet when this first came out and they were talking about each episode. The first reference to a toilet in
that was
Star
a note.
Wars.
So exciting. I freaked out. The greatest thing was before it was on, Filoni or Favreau. I think Favreau was like, within the like first 3 minutes, you'll see something that you've never seen in Star Wars before. And everyone was like, holy shit, what's that going to be? And it was literally a toilet.
That's so funny. I love how like exciting that is for some reason. It's so funny. It's like, I don't find it all that exciting.
No.
Because I'm not as like deeply into Star Wars as other people.
It just blew people away.
But yeah, it's so funny how exciting that is. That it honestly would have just brushed over me completely if they didn't mention it on a different podcast.
It's so funny. Also in that is a reference to Life Day, which is the Christmas special of Star Wars. He's like, oh, I gotta get back home for Life Day or something, and it's like quick little bit.
Yeah, I do remember this time watching that and just being like, he just mentioned something and I feel like I should know what that is, but I don't. Oh well.
That's Star Wars. That's the Disney Star Wars. Just seeds everywhere. But what else have we got? It was cool to see Carbonite on a ship, that it's that easy.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because I remember people people like, and I don't want to give classes to Star Wars fans, but people just a bit lower were like, that's dumb. In Empire Strikes Back, it's like it's never existed before, and they like tested on Han Solo, and it's like, no, they just made a new one there, and it had never been used before, so they needed to make sure it worked. It's just a technology that's around. It's just it's like getting a 3D printer. It's like, you've got to like wind out the filament first before you make your first 3D model. Han Solo was the filament.
Yeah.
It was the offcut of the filament.
Interesting way to put it. When is this set again, in terms of all of Star Wars? 5
years after Return of the Jedi. After the Emperor fell and the Empire was gone.
Okay, cool.
Although it was never gone.
So this is post-original trilogy.
Yep.
But only, like, just.
Yes. Yeah, only 5 years after, cool. Not 30 after, like, the sequels. Yeah, cool. So it's pretty close. And I think that it's a tricky thing. It's like, they don't try to make you understand things like that. I think a lot of people probably came to this thinking he was either Boba Fett or Jango Fett, because that's the only version of that they've ever seen. Yep. So that probably took a little while. I think the next series might help them understand that a bit more if what I think is going to happen. And also on the other side, the time is a bit different, especially when you still see stormtroopers and stuff. That probably confuses you, because you're like, but they're gone. But that's not quite how the Empire worked. It's so much lore,
and just back on the frozen in carbonite thing, like, what, that would have been essentially maybe 5-6 years after he was frozen in carbonite. Totally. Technology could have improved. Technology improves so quickly now.
Totally.
Like we have a new console that has essentially no loading time, almost only 5 years after the previous one.
Equally, they managed to implement technology onto the old console to make even the old games load quicker, because now The Last of Us Part 1's load screen that used to be 40 seconds is 14 seconds long.
Very nice. Awesome.
And I still don't know the name of this planet, but the planet where the Mandalorians and Grief Karga and all that, I don't know what that's called. I'm sure they say it at some point, but even I'm out of that.
They did mention it a whole bunch of times. I cannot remember.
No, I meant to get that, but that's fine. He goes there, delivers Blue Man. Also before that, there's the from like episode 4, which very excited me. The little spy that's telling the troopers where Luke and stuff is. Also, I love doing that noise. So he goes there, delivers the thing, and it's cool because it's like, it's almost like Tatooine's Mos Eisley thing, where it's this little thing. But Mos Eisley felt like a city. This is literally, it feels like a barren planet that has like a town attached to it in one spot, which is really just eerie. Like, no, you know what it is? It's a Western town. It's with the saloon and everything.
It is, yeah.
But you're just in the middle of nowhere. You're like, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
That's absolutely what it is.
Sense.
You get friggin' Apollo Creed in Star Wars, which Dad was very thrilled about throughout this series. Grief Karga is played by the guy that I can't remember, Carl Weathers. Which is really fun. Not much else happens in this apart from the fact when he goes to the other desert planet, and I don't know how Star Wars keeps doing this. No matter how many times they have a desert planet, it always looks different. So well done, Star Wars. Like Tatooine, Jakku, the one in Rise of Skywalker, they all feel a little bit different. Not Scarif? No, the one in Rogue One. But this one is inhabited by a little friendly Ugnaught, played by Nick Nolte. What a wild thing. I've got 2 notes in succession here. A cool Ugnaught being canon is so dumb, I love it. Followed by the Blurgs being canon is so dumb, I love it. The stupid little gremlin creatures are so good.
They're so weird looking.
They are.
They're basically just a body with a face.
Yeah, totally. Just 2 legs and then that. And like they're in things. Like I think they're in probably the comics as well, but they were in Rebels first, and now they've been brought into live action, which is really exciting. Another thing is, and this is just a bit of fan wank, Mando's like electric rifle is what Boba Fett was first ever seen, and Boba Fett was first ever seen in the holiday special, but that's what he looked like the first time he ever...
First?
Yeah. First ever, Boba was in the terrible thing, and also was riding a bantha, which is... A bantha? The bigger lizard one, I don't know what that's called. But so in this, we get a Mandalorian with the rifle riding a thing, but I think we might get a bit more in the next season. Obviously, he's got to go get the thing, which I skipped to it. It's probably one of, if not the best Star Wars reveal ever done. Like, I wasn't alive. I knew Darth Vader was the dad. That was never going to blow me away. That's about it. Because the prequels, we'd already knew where that was going. The sequels didn't try to do anything. This is second to probably I Am Your Father of a reveal that there is just a baby Yoda that exists.
So good.
Like,
so sick.
Oh.
Such a cool thing.
Just so mind-blowing.
It's just, as Disney knew, it took the world by storm. Like, they knew what they were doing.
There he is.
There it is. It's right there. For audio listeners, we'll just hold up a couple of Baby Yodas now. 2.
There's 3.
There's a 3rd,
There's 3.
of course. Do I have one? I don't think I have one.
Maybe not.
I used to have a Yoda.
I've got 2 boxed versions of this because I accidentally bought them 3 times. So I'll give you one. There you go. Then you can have one.
Great. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Also, that main planet is Navarro.
Navarro. That's the one.
Yeah.
God, that sounds like a Destiny planet. Or like Anthem or something.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Navarro.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very video game sound.
Yeah, totally. But also in this episode, first appearance of IG-11, and also was almost the last appearance the way he goes down in a second.
Absolutely. Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
What a legend.
So good.
Popping up.
So good.
So funny.
I love it. It's in the behind-the-scenes things. I think they either ask him or if he just flat out says it, and he's like, what do you expect? I wasn't going to do a voice. I just did my voice. I wasn't going to put something on. I've never done that, so it's me.
Yeah. Although there's not a lot of New Zealandy in it.
Yeah, it's very cold.
There's a little bit. He's like, it's his voice with accent removed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's totally that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. And yeah, that's basically Ep 1. Ep 1 was directed by Dave Filoni, who did Rebels and Clone Wars, and it was written by Favreau. Favreau wrote most episodes, barring basically 1 or 2. Episode 2, The Child, Rick Famuyiwa. I'm sorry, I butcher names. I can't say these names, but a different director, still written by Favreau. This one was a simple one. It was shorter, which I know a lot of people didn't like, because they were like, well, the first one was 38. Why is this one like 23 or something?
I think it was 32.
Yeah, right. It was less,
or maybe
and
like
that scared people.
Something. Yeah, it was much less. It's the shortest episode for sure.
It is totally. Really fun one. Mando can't get off the planet because the Jawas have pulled apart his ship, which is really, really fun. You get to see someone talk Jawa and get subtitles for the Jawas, which I don't think we've had before. Generally, they just make noises. So it was cool to have a conversation with Jawa before, for the first time.
Yeah, I don't remember. And yeah, it was nice to have the subtitles. I recently watched Black Panther, as I mentioned to Will privately. Recently watched Black Panther, and they do not have subtitles where they should have subtitles. So
that's bizarre.
I recently watched it and had to watch the whole thing with English subtitles on, because the English then goes like in Wakandan and then has the rest of it or whatever.
That's gross.
So it's so annoying because I don't watch things with subtitles.
No, I hate it.
It's very annoying. But yeah, this was nice to have. But also, I watched Infinity War recently, and that did have subtitles when the Wakandans were talking.
Yeah,
Wakandan.
Good.
So it was nice that worked, but the movie where there was more Wakandan didn't have it. So it's very frustrating.
We've got to get back to the Mandalorian. I recently watched Endgame, and one of my favorite sequences, I don't want to say it because I want you to watch it, but they have inbuilt subtitles that are very nice and cinematic looking, and I forgot that happened, and I was like, oh, this is nice. This is really cool.
Awesome.
As someone who has to subtitle all the back pocket videos, I was like, yeah, nice. Make use of your subtitles. This episode, apart from these guys, which I have one of, they're called Off-World Jawas. The difference is their robe is kind of this grayer color, and their eyes are red compared to the orange eyes and the tan robes of the Tatooine ones.
Will just held up a Jawa for audio listeners.
Yeah, that's what that was. I love this episode primarily because, I don't think you've even seen this movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. Basically the tank chase from The Last Crusade is in this movie. When Mando runs after it, and he's climbing up the side, that's just directly lifted from The Last Crusade. I love it.
Nice.
It was so good. He goes after an egg. A hairy egg.
The freaking hairy. It's so strange, but it's great.
It's funny.
It's such a funny reveal.
Yeah,
like
that's what they wanted.
That episode is almost pointless.
It is. Yeah.
Like, other than just to get his ship back together,
and
like, it just seems.
Other than to in episode 2,
This is very also true. I forgot about this.
It's fine, because it's like, wow, episode 2, Baby Yoda has the Force. Which, it's one of those questions that as soon as you see a Baby Yoda, you're like, does he? And they answer it flat out and makes him fall asleep. But that scene was like, just, again, another reveal in Star Wars. You're like, whoa!
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's so funny, like, throughout that whole fight. Like, I don't know if the Mando got a single shot in.
Totally.
Because once he eventually kills it, it's one small dagger to the neck.
Yep.
And it's down instantly.
Down. I'm sure there's like a rhino or something that they went, that's how that works. That's how this alien goes down or something.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe the Mandalorian just knows like exactly where the jugular is on this particular thing and just knows where to to pinch it.
It's just one stab.
It's so quick.
Yeah. And this whole episode is just a fun jaunt before the plot kicks back in chapter 3, The Sin. This is directed by Deborah Chow, who's done lots of TV as well, but she, in the interviews, is like, I love action. And it shows because this is I've written effing sexy episode when Mando just goes full John Wick on, like, hordes of stormtroopers in the dark, and he shoots, and he gets his whistling birds, I think they're called, and or something like that. And just takes down a whole room full of stormtroopers.
It's funny because when he gets given that, they're like, use it sparingly because these are rare. It's like empty the whole thing and there's 4 people.
It's like, and it's so true. This is a video game. Like, he keeps going back to the armorer and he gets a new upgrade, and within the same mission he uses that upgrade. It's like it's very much that.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up as well. I kind of wish throughout this series he kept getting pieces of this this special metal to
the Beskar
melt down the Beskar, that's the one, to build up his armor over time.
Yeah,
it's kind of like I'd kind of wish that happened instead of him getting it
all at once.
Yeah, episode 3, just to make it feel more and more and more like
totally a video game.
But it's still awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's so good. And I mean, I think people double down on it because in this episode especially, he has a little clan. He's got like an Assassin's Creed guild, basically, of Mandalorians, which I really love. It's really funny because the fact that the HQ is dank and dingy, because in the Clone Wars, the Mandalorian planet is literally almost just made of glass. Like, it's clean beyond belief.
Right.
This civilization is just this pure kind of dealio. So when this happened, I was thrown. A lot of fans were thrown. But it's like, after the Clone Wars, everyone went into hiding. Everyone's religions, everything had changed. So it was really cool getting to see that. It was cool getting a thick boy, Jon Favreau, Mandalorian.
Which one was he?
The big one with the heavy rifle and the jetpack. That's Jon Favreau.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, had no idea. That's awesome.
And I think his name is Pan Vizsla, and Jon Favreau before this has voiced Pre Vizsla, which is basically he was the ruler of Mandos for a bit and stuff in the Rebels and Clone Wars. So cool. It's this overhanging thing. But yeah, I loved that as well. The freaking heavy gunner, admittedly. I mean, you didn't spoil the fact that existed, but this is the episode that Josh ruined the fact that all the Mandalorians come in and save him by typing to me, "Oh, I love the bit when all the other guys come in." Halfway through the episode.
My bad. I just assumed you would be like all over it, and now I assume things a lot less.
Yeah.
I think because of that moment in time. But yes, that was my bad. I think I just assumed like you would just be like,
yeah, totally.
On it every single Friday because it comes out before I even get home.
That's true.
So
it's true. You still managed to see it before, but it's okay. It was a really cool episode. Obviously, he gives the child back. It was a great sequence, one of the greatest sequences outside of action sequences in the show, of him on the Razor Crest, and he picks up the knob, and it's like no words spoken, but you can understand everything that's going on behind the mask of him going, well, like, I just have to go save the kid. Like, I know it's against my creed, but it's like, I just have to do it. And it's like, nothing's said. And there's a lot of scenes like that, but it's like, it's just very interesting. It's almost like the droids in Star Wars. Like, there's so much emotion in them, but nothing changes.
Yeah. It's insane, like how much you get from the Mandalorian, and he's wearing like a full suit of armor the entire time.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense.
Not at all. It's wild.
How they do it, like, man.
Dope.
Pedro Pascal?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, he's great.
He's
if
so
that was
good.
him at that point in time, because who knows when he was or wasn't.
There's a guy that's great with wielding guns that wears the armor sometimes when they need a gun wielder, and there's a guy that's great with martial arts that wears it when they need lots of punchies, and then Pedro as well will sometimes do a bit of both of those as well, but they do have two other stuntmen that step in for specific bits, which is really interesting. Although season 2, Pedro apparently wore it like 50% more than he did season 1, so that's exciting.
Cool.
Which is fair.
Wonder if that then means we'll get less fighting?
Or more face.
Or more face.
Maybe more face.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. It looks action-packed. But anyway, this episode ends, fly off from the ship, gives the gear stick knob to the child, and it's adorable because it just is.
It is.
The way he pulls himself over the top of the cradle. So cute.
Yeah, and I think he drops it into his hand too, so it's just like drops and it goes boop, and he just closes his fist as soon as it gets into his hand.
It's so cute.
So cute.
Just on the child, the Sideshow Collectibles, which have done a 1-to-1 scale statue, have revealed their like end product, and it looks as good as the promo pictures did. And I'm so excited. It's so good.
Are you getting it?
Yeah. Hot Toys are also doing it, but I'm getting this one. It's a statue, but this statue is made by the people that made the puppet. So I'm like, that feels like the one to buy.
Absolutely.
And he comes with the thing. There's like a swappable hand that's holding
with the ball.
That's holding it.
Yes,
which is so cute.
That's sick.
And also the this thing as well. So that's very cute.
Oh, nice. For audio listeners, Will just held up the necklace.
The necklace. Which is all a shit. You should just watch the video. Next episode was The Sanctuary, which was Bryce Dallas Howard, the daughter of Ron Howard, that directed Solo. This is written by Jon Favreau again. This is a weird episode. I will say second rewatch, I think, helped me with this one, knowing where it went and just being able to see like a lot of the themes, like the kind of identification of himself and like protection of the child and all that. Like I get it more. Because the first time around I was like, no, just keep being exciting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I've always liked this episode. I don't know why. It's like a simple, very just like cute kind of get all the villagers, like train them up in fighting, and then they defend themselves. And
did Zelda or Link ever do this? Did Link ever like command a village? Because I feel like Link could have done this kind of thing.
It definitely could have been something like that. Yeah, maybe I'm pulling it from something else that I've loved.
Yeah. I mean, it is a very tropey thing.
But
like, Doctor Who's done a few of these kind of episodes as well. Like, it's and that's fine. Like, this series is about tropes. Like, it's the whole point of it.
And I think also, like I mentioned before, this is the episode with the classical nylon string guitar version of the thing. So I love the music in this episode.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in the village, it's very chill. I think another thing in this episode that I love harks back to, for my Pokemon fans, I was meant to look this up, but I've totally forgotten. The episode where Ash almost leaves Pikachu in the Pikachu Sanctuary because he seems happier with the other Pikachus than he does with Ash.
Yeah.
When I first saw that episode, as like a 7 or 8 year old, I cried my eyes out. It was horrific. My goodness, how could you do this to us? But yeah, it very much takes on that vibe towards the end when he's like, I need to leave him here because he's happier here and safer, and I'm just going to get out of here. Like, I won't bother telling him. I'm just gonna leave. Exactly what Ash does.
It's so funny.
Exactly what Ash does.
I like vaguely know that episode, and you've just blown my mind. I'm like, holy shit, it is that. It's totally it.
I only thought about it. I think when I was like trying to think of things to be able to say, I was like, oh my goodness, that's why I love this episode. Because it reminds me of Pokemon.
That's totally it. That's so funny.
Yeah, and then obviously he gets shot at, nearly killed, and he's like,
I gotta go. I was so sure that, like, because it was still so early on, I was like, how important is this Baby Yoda? I was like, maybe they're about to just kill him. Like, I legitimately was like, maybe this is it, and then they just move on. Like it was a 4-episode thing, and then the rest of the series.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
the outcry,
the backlash?
Yeah.
Like killing a baby,
Yep.
let alone killing baby Yoda.
I will say, watching Guardians 2 again, a literal child is put into a cage, and alcohol is thrown at and kicked, like baby Groot. Like, he is a child. And they just abuse him to the point where he's sopping wet, sad, and walking. I don't think I'd consider that until this time around. I was like, this is messed up.
That's really intense.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So Disney's not afraid to do it, apparently.
Freaking ravages.
This episode, good. They've come true to their name, This episode also introduces Cara Dune. So good.
Best.
So good.
The queen of the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Series.
She's so good. I'm glad. And obviously her and Grief Karga are back next season. So just commanding of the screen, which like we were talking just before, Deadpool, I forgot she's in the movie. Like, she's so... And it's not on her. It's the character of Star something or other. It's just a nothing character. So to have her in this series where it's like... And probably because she's the only one that has a face, but whenever she's on screen, it's like, you are just eating this. Like, you are the important character at the moment. And it was a really good thing behind the scenes. She said that she loved this character the most because she could just literally be herself. Like, it is this outcast, this larger, more built woman in the Star Wars universe, and that was it. And the rest was for her to find. And, such a good character. The bit where they fight, and then they're like... guns at each other, and then the camera flips and Baby Yoda's just sipping his tea.
Sipping the bone broth or whatever it is. So good.
So funny.
Yeah. And I always found that funny because Mando keeps like giving the bartender lady extra money and the lady's like freaking out every time she gets this money. So he's apparently giving her a lot of cash for everything that he's asking for. And one of the things is like look after him.
Yep.
Like, just watch him and make sure he doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And then minutes later, he's outside. Yeah. Like, she hasn't done her job.
She probably
she's just pocketed the money.
She probably shut the bar. Like, it was probably so much money. Yeah, she's like, I don't need to be here anymore.
Maybe she never worked there.
Yeah, it's true.
She just walked over and just started talking to him.
Apart from Imperials, no one in Star Wars has a uniform. Everyone just wears clothes.
Yeah,
there's no reason she couldn't have worked there. I also love this episode. It's got the ATST with the demon red eyes, which is just incredible imagery of it stomping through the forest. The Cara just goes, "Hey, Mando, give me your iconic rifle and I'll use it because I'm better than you," and then just starts firing at it. It's so good. It's such a great sequence, and like it's shot like just low light and like the kind of spotlight casting what it needs. It's a very cool sequence.
Yeah, it's awesome. I guess I have a question here. You said I should ask questions.
Please.
But I don't even know if anyone knows the answer to this. Why is that chick so good at shooting? The farm lady?
Yeah.
It's just one lady. They never explain it.
I literally wrote a note here that says, I don't need that lady back. It's just so strange.
She doesn't need to be back in it.
No.
But who was she? Why is she so good at shooting? Was she like an ex-stormtrooper, although she wouldn't be good at shooting for that? Yeah. Even though in the first episode they're like, they're the sharpest shooters in the galaxy.
These laser marks are too precise for a stormtrooper.
So stupid. And it just... Like, what the hell?
I don't know. It's a very strange character.
I wonder whether she will come back purely
for that,
to explain that. It just seems like such a weird question unanswered.
Quiet woman. Just that, it wasn't like, oh, she might have been a Mandalorian. It's like, no, she just seems like a normal person that's lived there her whole life.
Yeah. Like, where did she learn these freaking skills?
It's wild.
Bizarre.
It's fine. Weird episode, but I like it a lot more second time round. The next one though, Chapter 5, The Gunslinger. This is Dave Filoni. He directed and wrote this one, and it might be evident because for me this is easily the worst of the series, and it was the only episode that did not improve the second time watching it. I just got more bored of it. It's the one set entirely on Tatooine, with this try-hard gunslinger. What did you think of this? Is this the one that you were unsure of?
No,
Interesting.
not this one. This one, yeah, just
So nothing.
pretty dry, pretty nothing. Like, nothing really happens interesting. I don't even think there's... Does anything ever come back? Does anything continue on from this episode?
So, like, and we can just skip through this one because it is so nothing. But the only thing is that I was really upset they wasted Ming-Na Wen, like the Ming-Na Wen, like the voice actress of Mulan, countless films.
Yeah, right. So that's the bounty lady that they're going after?
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, she is phenomenal. And I was like, you just shot her? That was it?
Is she in S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Agent May, I think, is her character.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but thankfully she has confirmed she'll be back. So it was but a scratch, and this may be due to the spurs that were walking towards her at the end of the episode.
That's right. Yeah, so that's probably one of the only things that'll come back later.
Yeah, so her and that
Probably.
person, which is very obvious who that possibly is. That sound effect is only ever featured once in Star Wars, apart from then. And it was
have I ever heard this?
You would. It's in a film. It's in Empire Strikes Back, and it plays as Boba Fett enters the scene for the first time. So either someone has gotten his armor out of the Great Pit of Carkoon, or he managed to get himself out. We don't know. It was set on Tatooine, so it's like, well, that's where he would possibly be. And it is just such a specific sound effect that it's like, it's just blue ballsing us if it's not something.
Yeah, and also Western.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No matter what, still got the spur bev. Yeah.
It's just so freaking Western.
Yeah.
Unbelievably so.
Also, that hair on that woman that looks after the child. That's just insane. Like, it's too much.
That whole thing is a little bit weird. I kind of like her character.
Yeah.
She's like one of my favorite parts of that episode. Is just funny, and the way she's like, cool, now I found Baby Yoda, I'm just going to charge him more for babysitting
totally.
Baby Yoda. So sucked into that guy.
Yep.
Just the way she twists all of that, she's pretty good.
And then the Mender just gives her the wallet. I also love the droid she has are called pit droids, and they were in episode 1. They were the ones that are all like looking after all the pod racers. So that was cool to see them back.
Right, yeah, of course. Yeah, I thought I recognized them, but I didn't really know where from.
Yeah. Nice and obscure.
But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's good fun. But
nice.
Let's get out of that episode, move on to The Prisoner. This one is written by Christopher Yost, who wrote Thor 2, Ragnarok, and X-Men, TMNT, bunch of Marvel comics and animation.
Cool.
Which is really cool. It's like the only, like everything else was Favreau or Filoni. So I was just like, let's mention that. That's really exciting.
That's awesome.
I really like this one. This one's fun. This is the one set on the Rebellion prison ship, and they're trying to get out someone, which ends up being the brother Twi'lek.
In the Star Wars universe, do we know these characters?
No.
Okay, cool.
There's like fake backstory that doesn't actually exist, kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was the episode that I don't know if I have a problem with, because yes, it is a fun episode. It's cool, just like little bits of espionage and jailbreak and stuff like that, and people turning on each other. But it also seems to have nothing of worth to the rest of the series.
Totally.
That I can tell so far, unless some of those guys got out.
I mean, they were trapped in a single cell. Like, they're definitely coming back at some point.
Yeah, they'll work it out. But yeah, it just seems like, I don't know, there's just...
It is a bit of a...
It just seems to be
vacant
nothing.
one.
Every other episode seems to introduce something, except for the gunslinger in this one.
Yep. I will say, what it is, between those two, this is the proof that it can work. The idea that an episode that is a filler, that is like kind of just a side story, because this one is still interesting without, entangling into the main story. Whereas the Gunslinger, it's just like, this is so nothing. Like, this is beyond nothing. Whereas this one's at least on its own a cool idea and story. Star-studded cast, this one. This one's got Bill Burr, which is a comedian. He has vocally talked about how much he despises Star Wars over time. So the fact that he was in this was such a surprise to everyone, and he loved it. Still hates all of Star Wars, but he really enjoys The Mandalorian.
What? That's so bizarre.
He's one of those Americans. Richard Ayoade is the droid, you'd know from IT Crowd and all the rest of that. Love that man. That was a great cameo I didn't know was coming, so when he spoke for the first time, I was like, no.
That's pretty great. Yeah, that's so good.
Clancy Brown is it's a species that I think is called Deval or something. They're basically the devil, the big red dude. Clancy Brown, Mr. Krabs, Savage Opress in the Clone Wars. But yeah, the Detroit Become Human guy with the long hair. That guy.
The cop?
Yeah, the one that's with old mate.
Huh.
So that's
You've probably told me that he was Mr. Krabs before, but
in that podcast,
you absolutely have. I vaguely remember it now, but I would never have known.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's a really cool one. He's just been a mainstay of Star Wars alongside Matt Lanter, who plays the shy rebellion guy that's being cornered by everyone. He voices Anakin Skywalker throughout the Clone Wars and Rebels. Oh. Which is really fun. We've got a little cameo there. Cool.
So that's the only human on that ship?
Yes, the last rebel guy that's in there.
Yeah. Cool.
And lastly, the Twi'lek lady.
Nailed it.
Is Tonks in Harry Potter, which I only know because she has purple hair, and I was always like, you're cool, whenever she was on screen. Okay. But that's her, which is cool. Love the aesthetic of this one. Loved getting to see how the good guys lock up prisoners, because that's just something you never see, because the good guys are always good. Like, why would the good guys have prisoners? They're the good guys. Whereas the Imperial, they keep people in cells. This time we get to see the clean look of a rebellion prison ship, which was pretty cool. Some cool, dumb robots that kind of hover.
Yeah. Just these big beans.
Clanky boys, too. Yeah. That was cool. What do we got? Cool to see another Ardinian, which is the monkey guy that kind of looks out of his cell, which in Solo, that was voiced by Favreau, the little Rio, the guy. That was cool to see again. And possibly one of the best action shots of the series is when the hallway's flickering and Mando starts approaching Bill Burr's character, and it's like every intermittent frame. It's so cool.
It's terrifying, but so good.
And then he turns up on the other side of him, after all that.
Yeah, it's so sick. It's very, very well done.
That's super cool.
One other thing, because you mentioned most of the cast, is the brother anyone?
Not that I know of. I was going to mention the Laku, which is their head tails on him, was disgusting. Like, I really didn't like looking at him. There's a lot of Twi'leks, like male Twi'leks in animation and stuff, but I don't know. Female one works. Male one is just gross to look at.
Yeah, like most men.
Like,
just gross
we're not good to look at. Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually know who he is.
And also the guy that gives them the job that seems to have worked with Mando before.
I feel like I read somewhere he was a Sons of Anarchy guy, and that makes sense. Like, I could imagine
Looking at him, that totally makes sense.
He's definitely someone. I feel like he was, because I think I remember Zara being excited by him, and she's watched that show.
Yeah, cool.
Also, cameos from 3 of the directors, Filoni, Deborah Chow, and the guy that I can't remember, is that Rick, were the X-Wing pilots that come in at the end.
Rick. Yeah, nice, so cool. And I loved how classic that looked. It's the way they shot that, or whatever filter they put over the top.
Yep.
It literally looks like the OG like kind of film grainy kind of look. I almost looked at that and went, I wonder if that's more like B footage that they had and brought in.
Yeah.
But what they were talking about seemed very specific to what's happening at that point in time. I'm like, no.
This is new shit. It's cool to see X-Wings at any point. And one of the cool things about how they shot that was actually that it's the X-Wing that's sitting at the Disney park at California. And they literally were like, we don't have one on standby. Like, it must have been being used for Rise of Skywalker or something. So they went there, they gutted whatever was in there, and then fitted all that stuff to make it look like the cockpit, because of course you're never going to get close to it at Disneyland, so they had to so now it does have all that. Like, they didn't build it to have that, they just went, well, just leave it there, I guess. Now if someone walks past it at Disneyland, they're like, oh wow, it's all that must have been planned. It wasn't.
That's awesome.
Which is really funny.
Lucky they just happened to build that last year.
Yeah, totally.
Whenever.
Lucky. Fun episode, but it doesn't really go anywhere apart from the fact that it sets up that Grief Karga wants Mando to come back. I mean, he's been contacting him throughout it, but Richard Ayoade droid stumbles upon that message, and then that's what leads him back for the reckoning. I can't remember. Actually, this is the episode I don't remember. How does this actually work? Does he go to Cara Dune first? You watch these two tonight. How does this episode open?
Yeah. He goes to Cara Dune first.
Yep.
She's kind of like in a circle fight, joined by the electrical rope thing. Which is such a weird... I don't understand how that thing works.
Yeah, because
it's electricity, but then the dude, as he's fighting her...
It can retract.
Grabs it and pulls her forward.
Yeah.
And then she uses it as a rope to choke him. And then when she's won, it disappears.
It looked cool in concept art, but it's totally... Yeah, it's totally... Like, what's the difference between that and actual wrestling? You've given them a rope, basically.
Yeah. And like, how... Why is there physical, touchable, grabbable, chokeable rope that is made pure energy?
Electricity.
Like,
it's very strange.
And it doesn't hurt them?
No. Or maybe it does.
They can just grab it. It's like pure electricity and it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's a weird thing.
Sure.
Good to let her do what she does best, which is... Well, no, she's a great actress now, but that is her home stomping ground, which is fun.
Yeah, badass fighting. It's so good. And then, so... He offers her the job. She declines until she says that they are Imperial.
Yeah. Because she was a rebel.
So they're fighting the bad guys, and she's like, "Sweet, I'm in. Let's do it." But she pretty much, as soon as he says that, she just says, "I'm in."
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
Like it's literally the next word after it turns out. And then they jump on the ship. They go get little guy,
the Ugnaught, Nick Nolte, whatever.
That's the one.
Well, he's got a name because he gives it in this episode.
But then they that's when IG comes back. They get introduced to him being an Ersteroid now. Mando doesn't really trust him at all. And so they bring them. They bring the Blurgs as well because Nick Nolte's character will not leave his them behind. So they have to come as well. And then that's when they arrive at the planet, meet up with, what's his name?
The Grief Karga.
That's the one. Yeah. With a couple of other people from the guild.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
It was originally meant to be a setup, but they save Griff Kargo's life. I think the other guys die in a weird pterodactyl attack.
Jet.
And so then he goes, "Look, you've saved my life now. I didn't trust you. I didn't trust them.
Yeah, I've made my choice.
Yeah, but now I understand why you're looking after this thing.
Yep.
I'm going to help you. Let's go clear out the town."
Very solid. Well done.
It's good.
They get into the town. I'll go for my notes from the top now, but I struggle to decide whether this is my favorite or the next one's my favorite, because this is a very solid episode. Everything coming together is my favorite thing in fiction. So they run together so immediately that they're basically just an extended episode. Totally.
They're one episode, thing. So I don't think you have to choose one or the other. It's just say these
two, because it's like, oh, this is what I wanted the show to be. Like this is exactly it. This is what I was hoping for, and it's so great. Baby Yoda choke out was terrifying when he starts to choke out Cara Dune. It's like, shit.
I forgot about that when it happened. I'm like, jeez,
just because she was arm wrestling. Very good.
He just doesn't get it.
Terrifying.
Unless he knows something we don't know yet.
Totally. Has he got some Sith tendencies? Does he know something deep down in Cara? What's going on? Be interesting.
I was more thinking, does she have some bad stuff?
She just while we weren't rolling, she punched him in the head. That's all.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's all it was.
Which he gets punched later.
He does get
in
punched.
The next episode.
Come
to that.
Also, this episode was brought forward in the week, which I think that's how time works, to a Wednesday or a Thursday. The final episode still came out on the Friday.
That's right.
To coincide with the Rise of Skywalker, which obviously features Force healing, and so Baby Yoda does it in this episode too. Which I always just put it down to, they put it in this show and were like, this will be fine, and then Disney was like, I feel like people might get angry. Let's put it somewhere else as well so that people can be like, oh yeah, it exists in two places. It's not Baby Yoda's overpowered. It's like, it's fine. If a 50-year-old can do it, Rey can do it. Which is, that was a sick scene. Obviously also teased earlier in episode 2 when Mando is healing him, his little cut. He reaches over and I was like, is he...
he tries to help out for some reason, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing. And that sequence with all the pterodactyl things, that's shot well as well. I can only assume that was in the volume, but it's like, that feels like they were in the middle of nowhere at night and shit was going wrong.
Yeah. And that's very much like another really cool use of lighting.
Yeah.
Because you can barely see anything except for whatever the blasters shots are lighting up.
Yep.
Yeah. Or Mando's flamethrower lights up a little bit of stuff as well, but yeah, otherwise you barely see anything.
So cool. Such a sick sequence. And then, they head into the town. There is way more Imperial occupation because they're very...
This is when Griff Cargo says there's only 4.
There's only 4.
And it's just, the town is overrun.
Yeah, it's just
there's
a
hundreds.
sea. It's a sea of people. But yeah, it's a cool sequence. They get to old mate Werner. I want to see the baby, which is so good.
It's the best.
I don't think I caught it the first time I watched it, and I think I definitely watched these last 2 episodes twice, like outside of watching it with my parents.
Yeah.
And it's such a freaking great line. I actually feel a little bit sad for the droid at the bar that gets shot. I'm like, oh, poor guy. He did nothing wrong. And then we get Giancarlo. I'm going to try and read his name. I've written it somewhere. Giancarlo Esposito. That is his name. Moff Gideon, the bad guy in Far Cry 6, the bad guy in Breaking Bad, the bad guy in The Boys. I think he's also in Watchmen. The man is terrifying. He does very little whenever he doesn't have to do much. And you're like, he's going to screw shit up. He's terrifying.
And we see, it's in the next episode, just his exposition in the next episode is only talking about each of the people.
Just the names and what they do.
Just terrifying. Like, you're like, I don't want this guy to know my name.
Not at all.
He's gonna murder me in cold blood because he knows who I am.
That's so scary. Yeah, look, we're blurring these 2 together. The next one is Redemption, written by Taika, directed by Taika. One of the greatest things, and this was revealed a long time ago, but all those troopers, all the white troopers, the normal stormtroopers that come out, are all actually part of the 501st. They just put a call out and were like, we need a lot of troopers. Will the fans come in and do it? And the greatest thing is, when they left that set, their armor was screen used in Star Wars. It was a screen used prop, which is really, really cool.
And for people that don't know, and I also don't, but I'm assuming these are just like a famous...
So the 501st is basically global. If you it's a guild of clone and stormtrooper builders, and it's everywhere. There's ones across Oz as well.
Cool. But so it's literally just a bunch of fans.
Yeah, that
got to be in Star Wars.
Yeah, they're in the film. So crazy.
Dream.
On top of how cool that is, I'm also excited. I was so happy to see the Death Troopers from Rogue One back. The guys with the black. And they go because they're terrifying and they were barely used in Rogue One, so I'm keen to see them back in this. And one of the other funny things about this is the troop carrier that brings in some of the stormtroopers, the kind of first wave, that was a toy from the 1970s that was just made up because they were like, we'll sell some stormtroopers and a thing that can carry them. And now it was in Rebels first and now is in live action as well. It's a toy. It's not meant to be good. That's why it's just so clunky and weird.
That's so funny. That's so good. Is that actually literally a toy on the set as well, or they made it?
I don't know. I don't know whether they did a CG thing or they did. I don't know. It would be cool if they used the original Kenner toy and did it up.
The toy, that would be so funny.
Oh, surely they scanned it. That'd be sick. But yeah, moving to the next episode. Again, you've seen this before me, but there's a big the Death Troopers just fire to hell and back. I think that's actually that's in the first episode. That's when they kill everyone, which people pointed out, when they go to the outside, there are a lot of shots that don't hit. There's a lot of shots around the window. So they're still, even though they're the elite, they still suck a little bit.
And it is a huge window.
It is a huge window.
There is so much space to shoot right through.
Yeah. And they still go around.
there's just so many shots around it. It's like they didn't even try.
It's so funny. Again, we already talked about it. The opening of the next episode is the longest gag. And it is peak Taika where it's like, this is going too long. Oh, it's funny again. He just pushes it to an extent where you're like, oh no, this is still... And the ultimate payoff of them being terrible shots is just so funny. It's so great.
And they just kind of like hit their guns and they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, guns must be broken.
Yeah,
It's not
totally.
us. Just put it down. So
It's
good.
such a funny. I think I might watch this episode after we finish this because
Absolutely.
it's so much fun. And then
great.
old mate IG just swings through, blasts them down. Oh no, he walks on. That's right, he walks on, just knocks them out and takes the speeder, and blasts towards
and
the
then
town.
that's where it just freaking destroys it. And I love the fact that like his head can turn full 360 degrees and his body and all of his parts can do that to protect the baby.
Yeah, totally.
There's one bit like he walks in and everyone turns at him and they start shooting and then his body just turns. His head stays looking at them and he's shooting, but his body turns, which has
the child.
Baby Yoda, I was about to say Baby Groot. Baby Yoda on the front, which is now facing away from all the blasts and stuff. It's just it's so quick and
intricate,
and brilliant.
Yeah.
The design of that character is gorgeous.
It's so much fun. I didn't get... There is an IG-11, but what I'm holding up right now, this is IG-88 from Empire Strikes Back that has like 3 frames on screen, but it's basically the same thing.
That's cool.
But this episode was great. Lots of things happen. Big thing, helmet comes off. We see a face.
We do.
And Mum and Dad were so disappointed. They were like, really? Him?
He's just a dude.
It's just a dude.
It's just him.
Yeah.
Like, there's no weird scars or anything.
No.
Like, he doesn't look messed up in any sort of way.
No.
It's just him.
It's just a man.
It's going to be very disappointing when I watch it with my girlfriend probably tomorrow.
It is.
She'll be like, oh,
No, what's that? It's funny though. Pedro, he was legit like, man, in these behind the scenes, he's like, man, people are going to be so disappointed when they just take it off and it's just this normal, boring man. But the interesting thing is, obviously, he has lots of blood and cuts and stuff because they've just been fired at. There is a quick firefight where they try to escape and then they get drawn back into the cantina, which is where that happens, where Cara Dune actually lifted a real man.
Absolutely not surprised.
It's not at all.
She's incredible. She's huge and great.
She's all woman. And but a really funny thing is, he's all made up, got all this blood and stuff. When they made him up, he left the trailer where they did all the makeup, was on his phone. As he looked up, ran straight into a pole and cut his head right where all the blood and guts was. And so as he walked to set to be like, guys, and he needed stitches, so he went to the hospital. As he walked, everyone was like, shit, that looks sick. And he's like, no, I ran into a pole.
That's amazing.
Which is so
is this
funny.
In the making of?
Yeah. They go into a little bit.
good.
It's so funny.
That's so funny. Oh, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, but
dude.
This episode's really cool. They go into this like lava pit thing. There's a astromech with legs and arms, which is like nightmare fuel. When that thing just stands up, I was like, oh.
Yeah. The R2.
The R2 unit
droid with legs. So freaking strange.
It's uncomfortable to look at.
It's great.
But he was just a gondola driver. He wasn't anything. I was like, oh, it's going to be bad. But it's like, no. He's just there to paddle the boat.
Yeah, but he also doesn't last very long because he doesn't listen.
No, he doesn't.
So, just straight up murdered.
Just gone. Popped out. Instead, we get IG looking after the paddling. That's a Simpsons thing, isn't it? You get a paddling.
That's a paddling.
There it is. And this was another bit of like the volume at its finest, where you're like, well, this is a real lava mine. Like this is, you could feel the heat. You could feel like exactly.
Yeah.
And it is an interesting thing with it is when you do green screen, everyone is thinking of something different. Whereas this, actors are responding to the same thing, like they're on a set. You can be like, there's a big bat there, and they're like, oh yeah, there definitely is, and I know exactly how to react to that, and it's why it just lifts a lot of performances, which is really, really cool. That's
a good point.
IG doesn't last. The poor guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, goes down again.
Again, self-destructs.
Will he be back in a different form somehow?
Surely. Taika,
they back him up.
Taika's not on board for next season. That's one of the unfortunate things. He's one of the few directors that isn't back. I think Bryce, Deborah Chow, I think Rick is. Well, they're all back, but Taika isn't back. But instead, I think Favreau's doing a few episodes because this season he was just showrunner and writer. Whereas next season he's going to tackle a few eps, which I'm sure will be the best of the season. But yeah, sadly, no Taika next season. And yeah. It's an action-packed ending. He gets, we skipped over it. He gets his jetpack from the armorer.
That's right. Yeah.
And we finally get a...
And his little signet.
His little Mudhorn signet. We finally get a I think it's in this one. We finally get a resolution to who saved him. Not gonna lie, I was expecting Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was just another Mandalorian. I was like, that's fine. Death.
And I will say, being a pretty average Star Wars fan, I was just like, is that a Fett?
Yeah,
is that one of the Fets? Like first up, and then when
there's other
gets
ones
lifted out, it's like, oh, they're all Fets.
Yeah, totally.
Or not Fets.
So they're called the Death Watch in Mando culture, but which are also in the Clone Wars, which is really exciting. So that was cool, and it was cool to see some Clone Wars like battle droids and stuff back, like big beefy boys. So that leads me to think that they've got that ready for Obi-Wan's series when they do flashbacks with him and Anakin in the middle of the Clone Wars. Oh, it's gonna be good shit.
Very nice. And so they're good guys at that point in time as well. The Death Watch.
Yes.
Saving him. They're fighting for the town.
Yep.
After his parents got killed.
Yep. They're protecting it. I think I've read that that's like end of Clone Wars. Like that was almost the end of the war. So it was like the peak of all that crazy stuff. But really cool to see that kind of dealio in a show that like loves the original trilogy more than the prequels. To get a brief bit of like battle droids and the ships that fly overhead, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool.
Sick.
For as much as I hate the prequels, it is a part of Star Wars that I'm keen to see more of. So it's always good to see. But yeah, he gets his jetpack. I'm going to rephrase how I wrote this. I would go on a date with the armorer. There's something about her, right? There's just something. There's something just a bit. There's a bit. I don't know. Maybe. And
almost like a bit of sass that just kind of like. It's almost a little bit like flirtatious.
Yeah, like everything she says is a little shitty. And clearly,
Will likes a little.
I'm all in. I'm all in that. I'm for a woman that can make me armor. But yeah, that was freaking depressing that all the Mandalorians, at least in that clan, are dead now. All their helmets on the pile.
Yeah. So did they die or did they leave?
I don't know. I think it's implied death. I always assume death, but I also had that question of whether they just left or not. But it's not. It just doesn't feel like a place you leave.
Because I'm trying to think about it, because in the line he asks, "Did any of them survive?" and she says, "I hope so."
Okay.
So I'm wondering whether they all had to lay down their Mandalorian armor to get out.
To get out for some whatever reason.
Yeah. So I'm wondering whether that line indicates that they had to do that to leave, and they may have been in a firefight on their way, or whether like maybe she collected all of their armor, so a bunch of them tried to escape, got killed, then she went and
grabbed it off
them and brought them back. Smelt it. I'm not exactly sure what that whole thing means, but we'll probably see in the future, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure Favreau will turn up again as he's meant to. But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I always assume death, but I also I just vaguely watched, so it's good to know. Good to know it was a bit more specific. But he does use his jetpack, chases after Giancarlo and his TIE fighter. It's a cool little sequence. Again, the item he gets in the episode, he uses directly afterwards.
Yeah, so cool.
It's a very interesting end, because it's not conclusive in any way. He still has the child. He's given a mission from the armorer to find its people, whatever that means. It's definitely go find Luke Skywalker training Jedi and give him to Luke Skywalker to train, and then
something like that.
Then eventually be killed by Kylo Ren on the night that Luke Skywalker did the wrong thing. But that's his mission going forward. But yeah, this ends with him saying goodbye to Grief and Kara, who decides she'll stay on said planet that you said before. Navarro, that's the one. And Mando takes off with the baby, but not before. I'm getting something, audio people.
Yeah, he'll be back. And he's back. He's putting headphones in. Here he comes.
I'm here. Not before. What's his friggin' name? Moff Gideon goes and cuts his way out of his TIE fighter.
Very good.
It's such
using the
Huh?
Using the
Darksaber.
There it is. And where have we seen the dark saber before?
earphones
Because
now.
I know you've mentioned it before. I think it's in an animated thing.
Yeah, it was in Clone Wars and Rebels.
But can you give us a rundown of why that's exciting?
Yeah. I just so it's basically the Mandalorian's sacred weapon. I don't know if there's one in Christianity. I feel like that would go against a lot of Christianity. But imagine there was like a weapon that Jesus used, and then it was passed through generations of Christians.
So that saber's a Mandalorian weapon.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, I don't remember you mentioning that last time. You probably did, but I don't remember picking that up.
Yeah, so that is a Mandalorian weapicide? What the fuck just happened? Weapon passed for 3 generations. It was also used by Darth Maul when he took over Mandalore for a long period of time. There's some really cool fight sequences with
Again
Maul.
in the animated series?
Yeah. So,
because there's never been live action before.
No, so this is the first ever appearance in live action, which is very exciting.
Cool.
Lots of characters have used it over time. Lots of characters that could possibly be in Season 2 that have been rumoured for Season 2, which is very exciting. Darth Maul is long dead, unfortunately, though, by this point.
Yes.
But yeah, he cuts out. That's it. Cuts off. That's the show.
That's pretty much it.
It's very good. It's, for the most part, very, very good. I think that the next season, unlike, a Doctor Who or something, I feel like there is no way for them to go backwards. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me as a production and as story. Like, this is only going to get better as a series. And it's also just the fact that it starts so raw, and even by the end of the series, it's like he's already a better fighter and a better character. It's an upward inflection.
He's getting upgraded. His skill tree is improving.
I wonder if he'll go home at any point to get more stuff from sexy Mando.
Yeah, it's so good. Have they mentioned, like, they probably have, you would have all this information, like episode number?
8 again. 8 more episodes.
Another 8. Probably same runtime.
First episode, which was out on Friday, 52 minutes long.
Ooh, that's the longest.
This is very exciting. We don't know what the other ones are coming. That we only know because it leaked. It was accidentally for a fraction of a second online in like Japan's Disney Plus. I don't think Japan has Disney Plus, but it came up and you could see, and it said 52 minutes. So who knows if the other episodes are of a similar runtime? Favreau did say they are going to be longer, but I don't know if it's 52 every time. But far out, that's very exciting.
Yeah, because most of this was like 40 to 45.
Yep.
I think the last episode might have been like 48.
Yeah, I think the last one was 48.
But yeah, I don't think any of them exceeded 50, so that's interesting.
Yeah. It's very exciting to open with a chunky boy.
I will also say that amount of time, and even just like 50 minutes, it's not that bad. Like, it's so easy just to watch.
Still,
this.
yeah.
Like, again, you can watch this whole thing in 5 hours, 6 hours. Like, it's not much of a commitment at all.
Yep.
So yeah, like, I had to desperately watch 2 episodes, 3 episodes today.
Yep.
Just 1 in the lunch break, 2 after work.
Yep.
Even went grocery shopping in between.
Amazing.
And we still started recording this like by 8 o'clock or whatever.
Yep. And I'll just say at this point, I'm really happy with this podcast. I feel like it was really, really good.
This is heaps fun.
This is really fun to break it down like this. We'll definitely do it after Season 2, not a year after Season 2.
Yes.
For this time round. But I mean, we can say some more things at the end, but I feel like we should get into the Patreon comments.
Yes.
And I'll kick off with BMAC. I actually haven't read these beforehand, so if there's any profanities from you all, it's all on you. But BMAC is a very wholesome man, and I don't think that's coming out of him. Thinking back over the first season of Mandalorian, there were some things they got really right, and those that they really didn't. Pros, they got the tone down completely. The reinterpretation of samurai classics like Lone Wolf and Cub. It's very interesting, because Western is taken from samurai. So still, it's self-references. The Western came from the samurai film, so it's still got that.
Yep, for sure.
The musical score was on fire. The cast was great. Props to them using a physical puppet for the baby, and more than anything else, it was Star Wars, and it very much was. Like, it fits in that universe. I'm intrigued now. The cons, I'll say words. Individual episodes of the show was fantastic, but there was too much filler throughout the season. Like, when I say filler, those eps immediately pop into your head 100%.
We've already talked about them.
Yeah, there's definitely a sea of them. It also took far too long to establish where it was going. I don't quite agree with that, because I feel like by Ep 3. Ep 3 is it.
Yep.
The show is ready. But
Yep. And that's still only, like, you know essentially what's happening, like an hour and a half into this series.
Totally. Yeah.
Like you've watched an hour and a half of this series, and you know
what's going on.
How the next 5 eps and probably the rest of the series is going to go.
I mean, I guess it's more. I could understand it in the sense that like it almost feels like that was the end of the show when he's like, I take off now. I keep baby. I can understand from that standpoint where it's like, well, what else do you do now? But yeah. Good stuff, BMAC. On to Dolphin Pants, bracket, Lucas, bracket. There isn't much more I could add that hasn't been said before in the last an hour and 24 minutes, probably. I just want to say I'm excited that Season 2 is taking the singular story approach. I didn't quite know that. There you go. Less of an arc. I'm sure there'll be an arc. This series was basically singular stories, and there was still an arc. But
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I would have almost said that Season 2 was a singular story.
Yeah, totally.
But there's just like very minor little like divergence that generally for the most part attribute to the singular story.
Totally. Yeah. I feel like it'll be much in the same. Maybe if they're longer, it's more in the sense of like there's less connective tissue because it's like these are just movies every week.
They've established so much now.
Yeah.
Like so many different characters and stuff. There's not much kind of diverging out and new characters that they might need to bring in.
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably will. I'm sure there'll be new people jumping in as well, but there's probably going to be less of that.
Yeah, totally. Just a bit more focused. And second, also Cara Dune, semicolon, Heart Josh, semicolon, Heart Josh, semicolon, Heart Josh, semicolon.
Thank you, Discord, for doing that. Yes, Cara Dune, basically just
the best.
A little emoji of me that represents me with some hard eyes.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah, she's great.
She's so good.
Yeah, just more of that.
Yeah.
More of her being freaking rad.
Give me the Hot Toys figure. I've already got my Mando and Baby Yoda pre-ordered. That's another day one pre-order for sure. Should be so cool.
Very nice.
Last up is Argon, and he says, after Will's request in the previous podcast, my entire review will be in the character of Baby Yoda. I didn't request that Patreon comments all had to be Baby Yoda. I said, do them in the character from the show.
Sure.
Because you got to watch The Boys. I did a great Billy Butcher in the last episode, but you'll never know. Although I can't speak this, so it's more actions. Maybe I'll do it as a bad Werner Herzog. Force pulls carrier over. I said it wrong first up. Force pulls carrier open. Looks appreciatively. It's just like he's just very strained. That's all I got for him.
Yeah,
looks appreciatively at Favreau and Filoni. Squeaky baby Yoda noises Will. Why'd you put Will there? I expect you to... Oh, that's why. Squeaky baby noises Yoda... Squeaky baby Yoda noises Will. I expect you to make those noises.
Yeah. There's a lot of this series where Baby Yoda is just literal baby noises.
Yeah, totally.
It's just literally a human baby.
Yeah.
And I'll let you finish it off.
Force pulls carrier shut.
Very good.
That's the end. That's all that is. Very good. Very good, Argon. Hopefully next time it's a character that speaks.
Yes, because audio medium just does not work.
Doesn't work for actions. But yeah, good fun. What else have I got? Right at the end, my last note is, where else would the theme and the music go? What more has Ludwig got to give? I'm very excited. Just what other tones he can dabble into. There's actually probably the best, and you will love it, the best episode of the whole season is with him discussing the score. It is, all the other ones go back and forth to this kind of round table with a lot of people intersected with this episode is just like, they just sat with Ludwig in his studio and were like, how'd you do this? And he's like, well, I use this instrument to do this. And then they play that little bit. Sick. And then that episode is just the best.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely have to jump on board of that. That's sweet. Very nice.
But that was it.
That's it.
Yeah, it's Mandalorian Season 1. It was a chunky boy, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, I just really thought that was a really fun one and a really enjoyable way to do it. Keen for Friday. I believe it'll be the usual 7 p.m. because I think that's when they came out last time.
Something like that.
So very, very exciting. And it wraps up, I think, December 13th. So not quite Christmas, but around then. That's how 8 weeks
I will
work.
hopefully
hopefully
be
back
in Sydney by then.
Still live.
Although December 13 isn't a...
It's not a Thursday. I mean, I'm
not
basing it off
11th.
Maybe the 11th.
So it's the day after my birthday.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Perfect. Well,
cool.
We'll probably do something with that. It's very exciting. WandaVision is also somewhere in the mix. It'll start while this show is going, so we'll have 2 shows to watch on Disney Plus. It's very exciting.
Very cool.
But that's it. That's The Mandalorian.
Sweet. It was so good to rewatch this again.
Yeah.
Like rewatching it, I'm like, I know, like I remember most of what is happening and stuff. It's very kind of straightforward, but man, it's just so good. It's so good to rewatch it. It's so quick to get through. Very, very 100% looking forward to
Season 2.
Season 2, being able to talk to you about it, you being able to fill me in on everything I missed, even though I watched it directly. It was in front of my eyeballs and I probably am missing half the episode. So that'll be great.
It's very exciting. One last comment about it is just the fact that it's the first ever live action Star Wars TV series, and it just nails what you would do in that. So well done to the whole crew. But if you want to be a part of our crew, you can jump on over to patreon.com/each to their own. Just a $2 US will get you into our super secret Discord. Haven't said that in a while. Where we chat about things. There's other tiers. Those tiers might not quite have things corresponding.
Yes, we are trying to work out ways to fill out that the other tiers, basically. Figuring out ways to do that. So yes, thank you to our Patreons for being patient as we
work it out.
How to do the internet.
We'll get there. If you want to see more of us on the internet, if you're on YouTube right now, you can just listen to this by going over to Spotify. There's a link down below. And if you're on Spotify, you can head on over to youtube.com/each to their own. And in addition to that, because we're on another thing, doing things just like we press a button and then we're suddenly doing things. What are we doing, Josh?
We're doing Twitch.
We're doing Twitch.
Twitch.tv/ETTO online, but a shared O.
Yep.
You can, I'm sure there'll be links to it in the description and stuff like that. You can come check us out. We are often, sometimes we're streaming over there on Monday nights.
Yep.
Or at some point during the week, we'll stream a couple more times than I am able to due to my schedule. And every Thursday before Back Pocket.
Very exciting.
Come check it out. Come have fun. We're often playing games. Half the time we're playing games with you guys. Yeah. Come hang out, come chill. It's just a grand old time.
It's good fun. That's twitch.tv/etonline. It's a dumb name. You'll find it.
It is.
But that's it. I think we're done. I don't know what's next. I was going to say the PlayStation podcast, but you've just not had time to touch those games.
This is very true. Yeah.
That might still be a way off.
I can do my best. Next weekend is a long weekend. 4-day long weekend. For Melbourne. I just had a 3-day long weekend.
I was going to say.
Just came out of it. And it shouldn't have been because it's usually the AFL Grand Final.
Right, but it's all been pushed.
You guys just had Labor Day on a Monday, and our Friday before that is our public holiday version of that.
Yep.
But because of lockdown and coronavirus and everything, AFL, the whole schedule got delayed. And so we have the long weekend then, and then next week is the Melbourne Cup Day. So for some reason, I still don't understand why, but I'll freaking take it. We get a public holiday for a horse race.
That's a new one.
And that's on Tuesday, but for whatever reason, our boss has also given us Monday off.
Beautiful.
So we get a 4-day weekend. So 7 days off in 2 weeks.
You got a whole week off. Oh, God. Well, it might be in the future. If not that, a video about us with new consoles, because that's so close. We'll talk about all the cool things. It's very soon.
It's so damn close. So, yeah, I'll try and get onto a couple more exclusives leading into that. But, yes, we'll see what happens.
It's very exciting. It's an exciting time to be a nerd. It's all just, despite the fact the whole year nothing has happened, it's all happening at the same time.
For nerds. It's been a hell of a year. Like, some of the biggest games of this generation have come out this year.
Yeah.
And are still coming out this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's just insane. It's wild.
God, well, stay on the journey with us and hit the follows, hit the subscribes, do all the things we've already said. Until the next time, I've been Will.
And I've been Josh.
Good night, everybody. Unless it's the good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.